It's Tuesday, August 27th, 2024, and I'm Dave Sobel. 4 things to know today. A federal judge halts the FTC's non-compete ban, increasing the legal uncertainty over the nationwide restrictions. The U.S. government sues Georgia Tech for cybersecurity compliance failures in a high-profile lab case. Microsoft's going to host Windows Endpoint Security Summit with CrowdStrike and other partners to address device vulnerabilities, and SolarWinds faces new security crisis with hard-coded credentials flaw. An urgent patch is issued for web help desk. This is the business of tech. A federal judge in Texas has halted the FTC's nationwide ban on non-compete agreements, making a national ban increasingly unlikely. However, many states are enacting laws to limit non-competes, with Minnesota, California, North Dakota, and Oklahoma implementing blanket bans. The Texas ruling is expected to be appealed alongside similar cases in Florida and Pennsylvania, which may lead to further legal battles in a Supreme Court skeptical of federal regulatory power. Despite the challenges, the FTC may still influence change through softer measures. Meanwhile, the National Labor Relations Board is examining whether restricted covenants violate labor laws, which could lead to further legal challenges. Businesses are advised to use non-competes strategically, focusing on specific employees rather than blanket policies. And NIST has released a second draft of its digital identity guidelines, enhancing options for digital identity and anti-fraud measures, including details on mobile driver's licenses and online passkeys. The guidelines aim to balance secure online access with in-person verification, incorporating feedback from various stakeholders. Comments on the draft are open until October 7th, and NIST is also collaborating with technology providers to explore mobile driver's license use cases in financial and government services. Why do we care? Non-competes are indeed problematic and should be only deployed strategically. Senior key leadership? Yep. Blanket idea? Bad idea. Regardless of how the law shakes out, that's the current reality. Passkeys remain a solution I'm endorsing, and NIST adopting more guidance should make it easier for vendors to adopt them. As IT service providers, it's important to include this on your list of asks. Today's episode is supported by CoreView. Your customers need your Microsoft 365 expertise, and CoreView has the only M365 management platform designed for MSPs. Manage hundreds of tenants, automate manual tasks, and monitor compliance, all while intelligently comparing to the baseline. With a no-code control approach, CoreView revolutionizes your Microsoft 365 administration. This powerful platform enables automatic reporting and remediation, ensuring optimal performance and security. The best part? You achieve this high level of service without the need for a large workforce, allowing you to focus on growing your business through efficiency. Want to know more? Visit coreview.com/MSP and find out more. The U.S. government has sued Georgia Tech, alleging fraud related to cybersecurity compliance failures in a lab run by Dr. Emmanuel Antikostis. The lawsuit claims that the lab did not follow required security protocols, specifically by refusing to install antivirus software, and submitted invoices for Department of Defense projects while non-compliant. Additionally, Georgia Tech reportedly submitted misleading self-assessments of its security controls. Here's a key quote from the reporting. Quote, Georgia Tech admins asked him to comply with the requirement, but according to an internal 2019 email, Antonaskis wasn't receptive to such a suggestion. In a follow-up email, Antonaskis himself said that Endpoint antivirus agent is a non-starter. End quote. In other charges, Matthew Knott, a 38-year-old from Nashville, was charged for aiding North Korea in hiring IT workers at U.S. and British companies using stolen identities. He allegedly operated a laptop farm from his home, facilitating remote work for North Koreans and laundering money for the regime. If convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison for charges including money laundering and identity theft. The case is part of a broader investigation into North Korean IT workers posing as foreign citizens to evade sanctions and fund weapons programs. And speaking of North Korea, CrowdStrike's 2024 report reveals that North Korean operatives under the famous Cholomia have infiltrated over 100 U.S. tech firms by posing as job applicants, using stolen identities to gain remote IT positions. This insider threat enables them to exfiltrate data and funnel salaries into North Korea's weapons programs. The report highlights a significant increase in adversaries' use of remote monitoring tools, indicating a new era in cyber warfare that exploits the vulnerabilities of remote work environments. The FBI and DOJ have taken action against these schemes, emphasizing the global scope of North Korea's operations. Why do we care? Everyone knows that one powerful user who refuses to do something. The US government just said, nope, not with our dollars. Consequences via the power of the purse. Include this in your list of reasons for business owners to not place themselves above the rules. You could be sued. This is a growing trend of threats from North Korea and a trend to be watching for and training your teams about. Microsoft will host the Windows Endpoint Security Ecosystem Summit on September 10, 2024, to discuss improvements in Windows security with partners like CrowdStrike following that recent incident that affected 8.5 million devices. The summit aims to address kernel access issues, enhance resiliency, and establish best practices for safe deployment. Microsoft seeks collaboration with security vendors and government representatives to ensure transparency and develop effective security measures while balancing the interests of third-party developers and its own security products. Why do we care? While we should just judge the output of the summit more than the existence of it, it's clear that Microsoft is leaning into their security-first approach. The summit underscores the importance of transparency and collaboration between vendors, customers, and government entities. Businesses should advocate for similar transparency in their interactions with vendors, ensuring that security issues are promptly addressed and communicated. There's also a host of vulnerabilities to be aware of. A vulnerability in Microsoft's Copilot Studio, identified as CVE 2024-38206, allowed researchers to exploit server-side request forgery to access sensitive cloud data, potentially affecting multiple tenants. The flaw enabled authenticated attackers to bypass protections and leak information from Microsoft's internal infrastructure. Microsoft has since mitigated the issue, but the incident highlights the risks associated with the tool's HTTP request feature, which could be abused to gain unauthorized access to sensitive resources. A critical configuration vulnerability known as AL Beast threatens over 15,000 AWS applications using Application Load Balancer for authentication, potentially compromising business resources and data. The issue arises from inadequate validation of token signatures and misconfigured security groups. AWS recommends allowing traffic only from trusted sources and implementing signature validation, while experts emphasize the importance of proper token verification and using diagnostic tools to prevent such configuration errors. SolarWinds has issued a critical update for its web help desk product due to hard-coded credentials that allow remote, unauthenticated attackers to access sensitive data. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2024-28987, received a CVSS severity rating of 9.1, affecting versions 12.8.3 HF1 and earlier. Users are urged to install the hotfix to mitigate risks, especially given the company's client base across various sectors. This follows a recent critical vulnerability in the same software. Researchers at Cisco Talos have identified serious vulnerabilities in Microsoft applications for macOS that could allow attackers to misuse permissions, enabling them to spy on users or steal sensitive information. 8 vulnerabilities were found, with Microsoft considering them low risk, despite the potential for exploitation without user verification. While some Microsoft apps have been updated to address these issues, others like Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, and Word remain vulnerable. Cisco Talos recommends Apple implement user prompts for loading third-party plugins to enhance security. Why do we care? Well, tactically, note the ones that matter to you. I did want to highlight that SolarWinds one. Hard-coded credentials? Really? Way to make us question your post-breach security. Disclosure, I'm a shareholder. The recurring nature of vulnerabilities in vendor products, as seen with Microsoft and SolarWinds, reinforces the importance of comprehensive vendor assessments and the need for robust contracts that mandate timely disclosure and resolution of security issues. Looking to reach an audience of thousands of MSPs and IT service providers? Put your ad right here on the Business of Tech and be on the show that 64% of MSPs report having listened to. A recurring top 50 tech news podcast, there are affordable options for you to reach our audience, and we can support any budget. Podcast listeners are more engaged, have a higher level of brand retention, and are more willing to listen to ads here than any other avenues. Want to know more? There's information at mspradio.com/engage, including a button to book a time to talk. I'm looking forward to that discussion. Thanks for listening. Today is National Just Because Day. It's also International Lottery Day. So apparently, just because I should buy a lottery ticket. Have a question you want answered? I take those listener questions. Send them in, ideally as a voice memo or video, to question@mspradio.com. Catch me tomorrow live, 3 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and LinkedIn. Jessica Davis joins me for a conversation about AI and its implications on truth and why solution providers care. If you enjoyed the show, share it with a colleague or post a comment or a thought in YouTube or reach out on LinkedIn. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. The Business of Tech is written and produced by me, Dave Sobel, under ethics guidelines posted at businessof.tech. If you like the content, please make sure to hit that like button, follow, or subscribe. It's free and easy and the best way to support the show and help us grow. You can also check out our Patreon, where you can join the Business of Tech community at patreon.com/MSPradio, or buy our Why Do We Care merch at businessof.tech. Finally, if you're interested in advertising on the show, visit mspradio.com/engage. Once again, thanks for listening to me, and I will talk to you again on our next episode of The Business of Tech.
Part of the MSP Radio Network.